What's up guys, Charlie here. Welcome back to Conquering Kerbal Space Program. I hope you guys had a fantastic Independence Day weekend. Or for those of you who are outside the United States, I hope you had a great weekend. We are currently on version 1.1.3, and I'm not sure if we're going to stay there. I do know about several incompatibilities and several inconsistencies with the game, but overall, it's all a lot better now. And a lot of the mods have been updated over the weekend, thankfully. I did record what we're about to do today. I've already recorded this, several videos after this actually, but that nasty little orbit decay bug that's going around, Minmus and the moon and all that stuff, it really made doing what we're about to do here, it really just made me want to put it on hold because it was just a terrible experience having to deal with that bug. But now, if we take a look in the tracking station, you will see, well, I think you'll see, yep, that's still there. You will see that our moon network has been fixed. Well, maybe you kind of see. I don't know if this thing's going to show you everything. There we go. You can't quite see it because there's a lot going on, but this satellite can communicate with this one, which can communicate with this one, which can communicate with this one. And they are consistent now. They do not decay. They're not moving around. So I'm happy to say that that bug with the moon is fixed. And the same thing with our Minmus network. If I go to the Minmus network, I've managed to fix that one as well. I just kind of move some satellites around, let time go by a little bit. And we can say that these are able to communicate now as well. And they're not decaying either. So very cool. We don't have to deal with that anymore. I have a lot of contracts to do, moving this satellite here and kind of doing some other things here. If we take a look at Capcom, which just recently got compatible, thankfully. We have putting a new satellite into orbit of Minmus, scanning the moon for resources, which I think I'm going to actually send up another satellite for this, because we also have this one here. It says conduct an orbital survey of the moon, and it wants me to do recon, it wants me to do a signet scan and an irradiance scan. And these are things that I wasn't really sure how to do, so I kind of looked them up. I wasn't really sure what signet was, and I now understand the part, and I understand what I need to do, I think. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna send up a satellite over the moon that can do this one and this one in the same time. Rather than moving the resource satellite from the Minmus, which is right here, rather than moving this to the moon like was the original plan, I'm gonna leave this over Minmus because we do need a polar satellite over Minmus, so just for helping with relaying signals and stuff. So I'm gonna leave that alone. So anyway, that's an update. I did go to Minmus's science facility also and transmit some science, so we don't have 0.8 science anymore. But that is not what we are going to be doing today, because if you remember from the last video, I left you with basically clicking into the VAB. So let's talk about what we're actually doing today. Okay, we're in the VAB. Now, when I originally did this before on 1.1.2, I had a different plan only because I wanted to help myself with saving part count in this vessel, or I guess saving part count with what we're doing, because there's gonna be a lot of parts, and as few parts as I can make this be, the better. And as far as frame rates and performance goes. The problem with that though is that in 1.1.3, the abuser welding, or abuser, I think it's just like a fancy way of spelling abuser. Mod list, link in the description below if you're interested in the mods I'm using. I think the abuser welding mod is not compatible with this, and it probably won't be fixed until late this month, and I don't want to wait until late this month to do this. So I was only really saving like 10 parts when I did it anyway, so I'm just gonna go ahead and just suck it up and say, fine, we have 10 more parts on the vessel. What we're gonna be doing today is we're gonna be building the Pryor Interstellar Space Station, or the Kerbal Space Station, I guess if you wanna call it that, but I like my acronym better. We're gonna be building the Pryor Interstellar Space Station. And so the first thing we're gonna be launching is similar to what we did in Minmus, where we launched the core, or the first section of the space station. This is gonna be treated a little bit differently though, because this is the Kerbal one, and we're gonna be using the Kerbal one a lot more than the Minmus one. So, the goal behind the station, in my view anyway, my goal behind the station, is to have the station do pretty much everything. Like, we're not gonna like spare expenses here, okay, people? We're gonna be building an awesome space station, and I think I don't know about all the space stations that are available on the internet. I'm not sure about you know, all the ones that have been built on YouTube, but I gotta say, I'm pretty confident that this one is gonna be one of the better ones ever built. I'm just gonna throw that out there. At least for me, I think it's gonna be freaking sweet. You guys are probably like, you know, I can build one better, in which case, do it and upload a video. I really wanna see it. Okay, so here's the core, right? 4-way or 6-way, 6-way. And we're gonna do the same thing we kinda did with Mimus as far as the core goes, but instead of using the mobile processing lab, which by the way, I just wanna throw this out because we are on 1.1.3 and I did wanna update you. The mobile processing lab, if I put that here, notice it's not broken anymore. Hovering the mouse over top of it doesn't lead us to looking through it with Venstock Revamp. And Venstock Revamp has not been updated. So the update to KSP fixed that problem. Very cool. But we're not gonna be using the mobile processing lab. Instead, we're gonna be using this THNKR research lab. And the reason we're using that instead is because the Kerbal Space Station is gonna be doing real science. It's not gonna be like this magical thing where we put science data into the lab and then we just get this magical amount of science every so often that we can just transmit. We're not gonna be doing that. The Kerbal Space Station is gonna require that we actually conduct experiments. And those experiments take manpower. It takes sophisticated manpower. In other words, I may need engineers on board or scientists on board that have low stupidity. The stupidity actually plays a role in some of the mods I have, whether or not, you know, the Kerbals are stupid or not. So there's actually some more integration with that part, because up until this point, it really doesn't matter whether or not they have stupidity or not. But with certain mods I have installed, it actually does matter. So we can store 4 Kerbals, I think, in here. Yep, 4 Kerbal capacity in this lab. It is a little bit bigger, I guess. It's kind of a little bit bigger. Let's take a look at the size comparison between this and the mobile processing lab. Right here. You can see it's a little bit bigger. It's got a little bit more, it kind of rounds itself out. It's got big windows, and it's got this little section back here that's kind of blank and kind of left open, which is kind of nifty. We'll be using that too. Okay, so this is our science. We're gonna be using the station science mod to be conducting experiments, and you'll see how that works. I'll be showing you how that works, because there's so much stuff on this station, guys. It's gonna be crazy. We're gonna have like a 1 frame per second frame rate probably, but the performance increases with 1.1.3 are pretty cool. If you remember in the last few videos, I was telling you how much RAM KSP was using after being in the VAB for a while and after messing with parts and everything like that. Well, I've had KSP open for about a half hour right now and messing with things, and I'm using less than 7 gigabytes as of right now. Before, I'd be at like 11 or 12 right now. So the memory leak problem, thankfully, is gone. Oh, so good, so good. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna be doing here, let's see, that's the science part. We do need to attach experiments to the top of this. Because there will be, I mean, I don't need to attach it to the top of this per se, but I want to. I want to have the experiments that we're attaching kind of be right on the science lab. So let's say we do something that gets this to kind of go from 2.5 millimeter to, I don't know, closer to 1 meter, or not millimeter, but meter. So I need some sort of a cone shaped thing. And I think, if I remember correctly from playing around, there was a hub right here, an OKS module cap. We can just throw this on the top. Bam. Okay, so this gives us this. Now, the idea behind this is that we're gonna have a docking port here, so let's just do that. I have also gotten rid of a few parts. I had the CX Aerospace mod installed with their station parts. I've gotten rid of all the station modules because I'm probably not going to use them, but I do like the docking ports, and so I've kept some of those. I've sort of been selective on the parts that I've been deleting, but I'm trying to make sure there's absolutely no contracts at all with the parts that I delete, and make sure there's no parts tests or anything like that with them. So let's get, what do I want? Do I want this one? I think I want this one. Yeah. Look at that docking port. Isn't that cool? It's pretty cool. Now this has an active and a passive side, so it's not like the other docking ports where they just link to each other. You actually have to have the right counterpart to this in order to dock to it, which is this passive one here. So this passive one is the only one I can get on it. And if you see, if you notice, like it kind of clamps tight right here. So not only do you have to have the right orientation when you do too. So really, it's like, you know, more realistic, I think, to do it this way. And I like the look of it. It's low profile, and we're gonna use it for this one section. I'm gonna be selective on how I use this because I don't want to like really be super tedious about it. But like on this part, I think that's a kind of a nifty part to try that way. So we're gonna have this docking port on the top, and we're gonna have science experiments that kind of get attached. But I'm not gonna build that yet, because originally I was gonna have sort of like a tower kind of thing here, and then this would have docking ports, and then we'd attach the experiments to the docking ports, and then we would run them, do everything we need to with, this is the station science mod, so we'd run with quarks and all these things that it needs. And then we would just kind of decouple them and get rid of them and take them back to Kerbin and recover the science. But honestly, that's a lot of work to do that individually. So what I'm gonna do here instead is I'm just gonna have the docking port here, and then when we launch experiments up, we'll launch them all together, like all attached to each other, and then we'll just kind of dock them all in one big go right here. And that just makes more sense to me, I think. So that's how we'll do that. So we'll leave that alone just like that. Should I put lights on this to make it easier to see? Is there a light on this? You know, it doesn't look like there's actually a light on this docking port. So let's put some lights on it. Where would I find those? Right here. You know, now I think about it, like this is just adding more parts, right? Now, you know what? The vessel that goes to dock to this will have lights. There we go. That's how I'll get around that. Okay, so the next thing we need is communication. So let's get science. Let's do, you know what? It doesn't need anything more than a 16. I don't know why I would need a 32. You know what? Whatever. The difference in cost is like nothing. So let's do a 32. I'm gonna put a 32 like right here, kind of off the side, so it's kind of out of the way of the Kerbals. And we'll just kind of rotate this up, kind of like that. Just make sure it's not too long. Uh-oh. Oh, it's getting pretty close. Let's actually lower it then. We'll bring it down kind of like this. There we go. That works for me. And we'll just get this, make sure this is retracted. There we go. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do here is probably power. Need power. So let's put like a couple of 4Ks on here. We're gonna be pumping a lot of juice. We're gonna be using a lot of juice. On this station, it's gonna be using a lot of power, but we're also gonna have some really powerful solar panels, and we're going to have plenty of battery capacity for dark side. And this station is probably gonna be orbiting around, I think maybe 125K. It's certainly over 120K at all times, because I want to be able to use 100 times time acceleration from the station. And I have to be over 120 kilometers to do that. So that's what we'll do. Let's come back this down. Let's grab some life support. Do large container for life support there. And let's have a large waste container as well, because we are gonna have this be, for the most part, self-sufficient, all right? I don't think I can get it fully self-sufficient because it is in orbit. I'm not sure I can. I think I have to bring supplies to it every now and then, but it's gonna be very infrequent. We're gonna have enough storage on here to where all the crew can last for like at least a year or maybe 2 years without having to have anything brought to them at all. And if I can find a way around that, and if I can find a way to be actually self-sufficient, then I will, but I'm not sure about that yet. This is also the problem I'm gonna have to solve with Joule. So this can sort of be, at least as far as life support is concerned, this can kind of be a dry run for Joule as well. Okay, so we've got two 4K batteries, a life support container, and a waste container on it. Let's find something else. What else do we want on this? We want probably RCS fuel. Yep, I think we're gonna do a big tank of RCS right there. That's probably good for now. Then, you know what? Like, I think we are definitely going to have the capacity to build crafts in orbit on this ship. We're definitely gonna be taking advantage of the extraplanetary launch pads kind of thing in orbit. So we're gonna need material kits. And I'm thinking, like, if I was to go with something like, there's a container here somewhere. This one. If I was to go like this, and then change the tank to material kits, and then just fill it up. That makes it 74,000. It's pretty expensive. That's a lot of money into material kits. 34,000. Yeah. And we're not going to be using these for a while, so I mean it's not going to be very useful right now, but I don't care. I don't care. Let's get the docking port set up done, so I don't forget that. I have a tendency to forget simple things, so let's do, where is it? Docking ports, decouplers, docking ports. Here we go. And the senior, here we go. All right, now I want the notches to be up. That's the orientation I want. So this one is the wrong way, and still not the right way. Oh, I think that's it right there. Yep, that's the notches up. So these little notches here, I want them up, so I know the orientation of things. And that's gonna be important when I reference later on, when I'm trying to make sure that everything is kind of the right way, facing the right way, because I'm building the station. I have a work in progress. All right, I'll just open this up. I'm not gonna show you what it is. Oh, hang on, we had to save this. PISS initial. The Pryor Interstellar Space Station initial launch. We'll save that. And I already have one because I was playing around with it, so I'm just gonna overwrite that. I don't care. This is, I'm just gonna show you in the list what I've been working on, just to give you an idea of the scale of this space station. Okay, so I'm gonna come down here, put my mouse over this so you can't quite make out what's going on with it. I didn't know there'd be a thumbnail image. This is the PISS work in progress. It's 235 parts. It's over 2.5 million in cost so far. Okay, so far. Okay, I probably will put something else over top of that rather than my mouse, because I really don't want you to see that that image. I don't want you to get any preview at all of what we're doing here, guys. This is all going to be a surprise. If I can have anything to say about it, that's what it's going to be. Let's flip this around. Put that there. Copy this, put that there, and then we'll copy this and put that there. Then I want one more, and we'll put that there. And we'll flip it around so it's at least the right direction. And then we'll put the notches on the right side. There we go. Okay, so this is the initial launch so far, but I need to be able to control this, and there's no Kerbals on board. At least hopefully there's no Kerbals on board. Get out of here. So I need a probe to work with this, and I think I'm going to use this radial probe right here, this Caribou radial probe, because I think the radial probe is just cool. I mean, that's all there is to it. I don't want to have like an actual probe up here, so this is the way I'm going to get around it. Also, I want Kerbal Engineer, because I want to be able to track whether or not this orbit is actually decaying or not anymore. So I'm gonna lift this up, and then I'm gonna go to, I think, Science. Yep, Kerbal Engineering System. That's strange, it's rotating. Okay. We'll put there, and then we'll just pop this on top. I don't want it to be seen. Speaking of that, actually, let's also grab MechJeb, which I think is in control. MechJeb. There it is. And I'm gonna stick that right here. And it's gonna kind of be cool because the antenna on the probe is right here. And I think, like, why does the MechJeb need an antenna? We got one right here. So it kind of looks like I'm just sort of wired into the probe. I kind of like that. So we're gonna do that. What else can we do? Probably want RCS, at least a little bit. So let's take some RCS thruster blocks, and let's put some like 4-way symmetry here and 4-way symmetry here. And then how about some lights? Because lights are cool. We like lights. So let's do lights here. Okay. So that takes care of what we want to do there. And actually one more probably would be good. So let's actually do some RCS down here too. Okay. Is that too much? Might be too much. I think it might be too much. Let's take this away. Actually, how about we do this? Let's switch these up. Let's bring the lights like this. Bring the RCS blocks down like this. And then we'll bring the lights back up like this. That's kind of nice. And now we got the antenna right by the RCS block though. All right, we'll move the antenna then. How about we move the antenna like, maybe like that, whatever. I don't care. Do I care? I kind of care. I like the looks. I'm into the looks. I want the looks to be great. So I guess we'll just put it there instead. So there is our initial launch. I feel like I'm missing something. You know what? Let's actually... should I put one? Let's put one. Let's actually put a reaction wheel here too. I want to be able to control this. Even if it's really super slow and if I don't have any monopropellant, I want to have at least some influence. So there we go. There we go. That's what we're gonna have. This is gonna be full, right? Yep. 88,000 is what we currently got going on here. Now, I was going to do some welding with Ubuser, and I wouldn't have these docking ports on, and I actually made a whole spiel about how you don't want repeat parts. You don't want to weld two of the same parts on there, and you want to be conscious of, like, don't put your docking ports on the weldment because then you can't target the docking ports. And I explained how all that worked, but now I'm not going to because we're not going to do it. So instead of being 11 parts, this is going to be 36 now. So that's just the way it is. Because the way I had it before is this was... No, it was more than 11 parts, but I basically had all the docking ports off. I didn't have this docking port on. All the lights and all of the RCS thrusters were gone. They were all off. I only had one battery because I don't want repeat parts. And I welded all those together and it turned 11 parts into one part, and then I stuck everything else back on. So really it would be closer to like 25 parts instead of 36. Big deal. It's not worth waiting just because I want to save 11 parts on this, so I'm not going to. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead now and configure what I want this launch to be. And, all right, I have to get it up into orbit, so I will do that now. Okay, guys, so we're back. I put a bunch of stuff here to get it up to orbit. And I've actually decided that it'd be kind of interesting. I think I'm going to leave this stage on it and connected to it. Initially, the idea was to have all of this kind of be deorbited and stuff, but I do have parachutes on it just in case situation calls for doing it. At least I can get the money back for it. But I think what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to leave it on, and then I can actually... I've reduced the amount of material kits we're bringing up. I'm not sure how much material kits this stuff is worth, but if I just have an engineer go out and just like break all this stuff down into material kits and have it stored in here, then we can, we can just use this stuff later. So maybe we'll do that. I don't know how many material kits this stuff is worth. So I don't know how much to take away. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that, probably 6,000. I'm gonna just guess and say this stuff is worth 6,000. It's probably worth a lot less than that, but we're just gonna guess and say that. If it's worth more than that and we fill this beforehand, then, then whatever, we just break it down. But then it's this full. As long as this is full, I'm fine with it, I think. I'm also debating on maybe bringing something different than material kits. Because, again, I'm referencing the work in progress thing here. And if I can store chemicals in here, that might be better. But it doesn't let me store chemicals. There's like only one thing that can store chemicals. Only one container so far that I've found that can store chemicals, and it's just not this one. So anyway, so we'll do that. And this is going to cost us $188,000 to send up to orbit. I haven't done any test flights yet, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to test flight this right now. Okay, guys, welcome to the launch pad. I've done my test flight, and I've determined that I didn't need the extra fuel tanks. So those tanks are gone now. We don't need them. So we're just going to use what's here. I think I probably don't even need these noses, but because they're aerodynamic and stuff, I'm just going to leave it. But basically how the launch will work, pretty much like every other launch, we're just going to go up, get ourselves into orbit, probably around 120K, 125K. And the fuel will drain from these tanks first. So I'm just going to keep an eye on this tank. And when the fuel starts to go from this tank, I'll know at that point that these are empty and I can eject them. That's pretty much how that's going to work. And we're going to try to keep our inclination as close to 0 as possible. So that's it. Here we go. I'll probably skip most of this launch. You guys have seen this numerous times already. So I guess I'll probably just cut ahead a bit. Working our way up here. Starting to get a little bit hot. And I'm just waiting for the fuel to start draining out of this so I can hit the space bar. There we go. Fuel starts draining. Kick that out. So now I don't need this open anymore. We're good to go. And work our way up to an apoapsis at about 125. Yeah, a lot more fuel than I need actually. But, you know, whatever. It is what it is. I'm gonna go ahead and stop it right there at 120. Because I think as I burn, this will probably go up a little bit more anyway. If it doesn't, then I'll correct it. I do need to correct the inclination a little bit too. We kept it pretty close to 0, but I think technically we're closer to 0. No, we're not. I think we were closer to 0 at launch, but that's okay. We drifted only slightly, and that's fine. I'm gonna get these solar panels out so I don't lose power, although I don't really think that's a risk having 8K on board right now. And I do need to get this antenna out. We'll activate that as well. And now it's just a matter of getting our maneuver set up to do what we want to do. So, go into map view here, find out where we are. We're looking pretty good with our inclination. And I'm just going to hit add maneuver. Get the smart ass out of here. Going to add maneuver at the apoapse and circularize. If we fall below 120 at any point in time in this, then I'll correct it so that we're not. I want to have at least 120 so that if I have any ships docked to the station or just the station itself for science purposes, whatever, I want to be able to use 100 times time acceleration without having to go to the tracking station. So that's why I'm doing it that way. Let's make sure this is in position again. I did kind of went a little too far. I wanted this to be in position. It's not quite in position yet, so just let the RCS kind of do its thing, get us sorted here. All right, and I'll just kind of bump the throttle a little bit here. Just bump it until we're over 120 on the periapse. There we go, over 120, perfect. Actually, not perfect. I want to make sure all aspects of the station are over this, actually. So maybe I should go just a little bit more. Like, whoa, whoop, wrong button. Well, at least we're more circular now. Maybe we'll be around 123. Yeah, I think maybe we'll kind of do that. Be closer to 123. This is good. I don't mind this. This is fine. Okay, now we need to correct the inclination. Okay, so we've got this maneuver here. It's in about 2 minutes. It's 24.3 meters per second. And actually, I want this to be pretty precise, so I'm going to limit the throttle here to about, let's say, 18. Let's do 17. Let's re-establish the execution on the maneuver. After we've adjusted the throttle, I do that. So I just basically take the maneuver off and then tell it to execute again. 24.3 meters per second. This is going to get us within 0.01 degrees of being perfectly equatorial, which honestly is fine with me. It's going to be a big enough station, and it's not really that big of a deal. One of the bugs that's happening right now with 1.1.3, in terms of my mods, one of the bugs that's happening is distant object enhancements is not showing me the mouse over on the planets that's distant. It's dimming the skybox just fine. It's showing me these objects in the distance just fine, but it's not it's not showing me the hover. So like I've got all these little planets and stuff over here in the distance that it's enhancing, but I can't mouse over them. Lame. Also, another thing is that the sun that I had, or the flare that I had for the sun through Scatterer, is not working either, which is not really that big of a deal to me. I don't really care. So okay, so I'm gonna kill that. I don't know what it's still kind of moving it around, but I'm gonna kill that, and we have an inclination now of 0.00534 degrees. That's just brilliant. So I'm good with that. So now I want to face normal. I want to face up, because that's the orientation I want my station to be in, is up. If there is such a thing in space. which I think there is. When we're this close to a planet, I think, we can assume that that's the North Pole and this is the South Pole. And, up would be north, so, it's not really the technical term. I wouldn't say up is a technical term, but it's still good. And the station is up high enough now where we can do 100 times time acceleration, and it's up high enough to where I really don't have to worry about any debris hitting the station, which is a pretty good thing. So that's that. We have this station up in orbit. Everything is cool. And I'm gonna have the flight computer hold Orbital Normal Plus for this, so that this always stays oriented like that. Okay, so we're back in the VAB here, and I want to do the contract that I have related to the moon, because now that we have our station up, station science and the contracts that kind of go with it can maybe start to populate in here, and I don't want to launch anything up to the station if I'm going to get a contract that will pay me to do it. I don't know if I will, and if it goes by, if a good amount of time goes by, I'll start to build it up anyway without the contracts, but I do want to give it a chance to do so. And in order to do that, I kind of want to maybe clear some of these out, and so I can do the scan the moon for resources, which is, self-explanatory, scan it for resources, and I want to do the orbital survey stuff with all of this stuff here too. So, transmit or return at least 3 of the following experiments. I'm going to do all of them, because why not? Gonna get 111,000 for completing this. I am gonna pay, or I'm gonna spend 150,000 to launch this. So there is that. But scan the resources of the moon gives me 148. So basically, this contract pays for the launch, and this one is extra. Pretty much, that's how that's working. So that's profit. So let's do that. And once we get those 2 cleared out of here, maybe we'll start getting some contracts that will let us, kind of let us do some other good things. I am also going to go ahead and test the Nova in an escape trajectory of the moon. That's going to give me 125,000. That's going to be super easy to do. I'm basically going to put a liquid fuel gas tank and a probe with an engine and just send it out that way. And that's pretty much it. We'll send it out that way. I don't need to orbit around the moon or anything. I'm just going to fly by it, and as soon as I'm in an escape trajectory on the flyby, then I'll test it, and then I'll just have the probe come down and crash into Kerbin and whatever. I don't really care. So I will test that off camera. But for now, let's go ahead and get this one done. I'm pretty sure this will fly well. I'm calling this the Moon Spec Scan Relay. Let's launch. All right, back on the launch pad. I'm gonna launch at night again, because, whatever, I don't care. SAS on, thrust all the way up, and go. And this thing cost a lot because these components, these big 2 components here, cost a lot. So we've got the little brother surveillance camera, and we've got the undersized signals intelligence satellite, which is, it says undersized. The thing is enormous. So we'll go ahead and show you that once we're up in orbit. Okay, we're getting the panels extended. I haven't really calculated the delta V very well, apparently, because I anticipated this being having a lot less fuel, and I anticipated us basically getting this stage back, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. Then again, this is the mainsail engine, so it has been known to eat delta V in the past. Whether or not that still exists in 1.1.3, I don't know. It doesn't appear to be... Yeah, it looks like it's eating it. Like, look at that. It is definitely eating delta V. Okay, well, now I know. It definitely does that still. Because this had 2,000 in it. Well, maybe. Actually, maybe it didn't. Maybe it didn't. I guess I probably need to look at that a little better. But I do need to also get, where is it? The antenna. Where's my antenna? There it is. Let's activate that. Need to get that out. About to make this maneuver for the moon, and I don't have enough delta V to do the whole thing. Just like that whole thing that happens all the time. So we're going to burn most of it. of course, with this. And then the rest of it was with the little Terrier engine that's kind of nestled in over here. So I guess that means I probably don't need the flight computer to do this, because I'm gonna kind of have to do this manually. I really wish flight computer would understand staging and kind of estimate it with staging, but it doesn't. Maybe when Squad puts this feature into the KSP for 1.2, maybe they'll do that. I don't know. We'll see. Either way, I've got 45 seconds till the node, and I'm thinking probably now is probably the best time to do this. So let's do it. Stage it and fire. You know what? That's not bad. Let's go ahead and cut this. And the node's actually coming up pretty quick here, so I almost timed that right. Almost. Now I can do it. Okay. I kind of like that. That worked out okay. I do wish that this would get deorbited, but I'm gonna have to go and retrieve that, which it's gonna be kind of a pain in the ass to do, but whatever. We'll do it. Okay. And we'll go ahead and make this burn. Get ourselves circularized. It's a pretty good orbit. I'm all right with this. I do need to be low. Some of these need to be done in high orbit. Some of the experiments for the contract need to be done in high orbit, and some of them need to be done in low. And I'm just gonna start with low. It gives me the cheapest, I guess, capture burn. Cheapest insertion burn, whatever you want to call it. I'm not entirely sure the terminology is all the time, but there it is. Okay, so we're in orbit here. So let's go ahead and get this thing. Oh, we do have a scatterer problem, looks like. Maybe. Time accelerate. Let's get ourselves. Yeah, we definitely have a scatterer problem. So we'll get that fixed now. Alt F10. Ocean settings, rebuild ocean. There we go. Cool, cool, cool. That was like 2 different problems at once. All right, so I'm gonna get this thing in the sunlight so we can see it really well. Then let's get our experiments started. So what I want to do is I want to get it pointed like kind of like this. I know it doesn't really matter, but I'm gonna say it does. Okay, kind of like that. Then, oh, it looks like we have a gravity data experiment we can do. Can't see it because of 40 science. I'll transmit that, yeah, sure. And there it is. Look at that. That, my friends, is the undersized, I didn't even mean to launch it there, but it just did. That is the undersized Signals Intelligence Satellite. Undersized Signals Intelligence Satellite. It's massive. It's just massive. Look at the size of this thing. Like, these are the Gigantor solar panels, and like this thing is so much bigger than them. And it can't be retracted either. So then this is the little brother reconnaissance, or a little brother surveillance camera. I can do that. It's technically looking away from the moon right now, but I'm just gonna say that it will be looking at the moon. It'll be looking at the moon eventually when it goes around, so whatever. So we'll get that done. I'm gonna take the orbital telescope. Log observations there. There's nothing to observe. Okay. Let's get the high resolution altimetry data started. So we'll start that. We want the multispectral analysis. So we're going to start the multispectral scan. And then we're going to also get the solar particle collector here. We'll get that out. I'm also going to get the GORSAT. We'll log that data. And we're just gonna transmit all these things. Let me get Kerbal alarm clock out of the way. Like, look at this. Look at the light shining through the intelligence satellite. It's just like putting this pattern all over the texturing. It's so cool. Oh, and then one more. Obviously, we have to deploy the scanner here as well. So we'll deploy this scanner and perform orbital survey. Polar orbit, stable polar orbit between 25 kilometers and 1,000 kilometers. Okay, well, I'm not in a polar enough orbit for that yet, but that's okay. We can move later. Look at this thing. It's crazy. It's nuts. It's just nuts. Okay, well, we've got that done. Let's take a look at the contract and see which ones we've actually fulfilled. And it looks like I need to do the signet scan data, which I thought I just did that. Multispectral analysis. I think that needs to be done. Hang on a second. Is this, if I collect radio data and transmit, does this count? It does. Cool. That counts. So now the multispectral analysis, if I analyze the data, if I just transmit that, even though there's no science value, is that going to count? No. Doesn't count. But I only have to do at least 3 of the following, so this is done. It's not in the list anymore, so we just did this. So I am good with that. All right, cool. Scan the moon for resources. That, wait, what's this? Fuzzy resources scan. Fuzzy resources, I don't know what that means. Fuzzy? I don't know. Let's get this thing in a higher orbit now. Let's go this way. It's about like that. That's gotta be polar enough for that resource scan, right? I think it's gotta be. I'm gonna go up just a little bit more, but like I don't think I need to. Something like that. So let's execute that maneuver. It's in 14 minutes. I just love this thing. This are gargantua. And this is the undersized one. Like I want to see what the oversized one looks like. There's an oversized one too, but it can't be. It's kind of like it doesn't mount on the inside like this to a point instead of opens up at the tip. So it has to be the nose of your craft. The oversized one has to be a nose, and the oversized one looks like anyway that it's 2.5 meter instead of a 1.25 meter. So it's gonna have to be on a bigger ship too, bigger craft. We might put one on our station. I don't know. I really don't know if there's a place for it on the station, to be honest, but if I can find a place where it fits, then maybe, just maybe. And I'm also going to be installing persistent rotation at some point. I think it is compatible with 113. They've updated it. So I am going to be installing that probably the next time I record. I'll have it installed. And then I can have these vessels and all my satellites and stuff just constantly rotate, like so that this can be pointing down the whole time, you know, just for looks. It doesn't really do anything, but just for looks. If it was realistic, then it would definitely do stuff, but it doesn't have to. So up we go. And we'll just make this burn. And this should make us more polar. Hopefully polar enough to where this will work. What do I have to be in order to do this? It says perform orbital survey. Oh, it's working now. There it goes, it worked. Okay, well that's it. That's all I needed to do. Fair enough. So does that take care of that contract then? No. Fuzzy resources. What does that even mean? I'm gonna have to launch another craft. That whole thing was supposed to pay for this. That was supposed to pay for this launch, guys. But like, I don't know what fuzzy resources is. What does that even mean? I don't know. I'm gonna log imaging. Oh, there it goes. Log imaging data in the multispectral scanner. That takes care of the fuzzy resources part. Okay. Well, I'm not gonna argue. I guess that's all it takes. So, okay. Well, that takes care of those 2 contracts, and we've launched a station. Everything is looking good, guys. I'll see you for the next one. Take care. Bye.